It wasn't a single moment. It was a slow erosion, a gradual, quiet, and deeply unsettling kind. The kind of change you don't notice right away, until one day you wake up and realize the game you loved isn't quite the same anymore. Football used to be simple. You supported your local team because it was yours. You stood in the terraces, chanted club anthems, and felt a genuine connection between the pitch and the people. The players felt like one of you. The club represented your town, your family, and your weekends. But that bond has been wearing thin, and in its place, an industry, a commodity, a playground for the world's wealthiest elites who see football clubs not as cultural treasures, but as shiny, tradable assets, something to flaunt in a portfolio, something to exploit for leverage and profit. The soul of the sport is being auctioned off piece by piece. Stadium names are sold to the highest bidder. Ticket prices rise at a rate higher than inflation. Kickoff times cater to TV deals, not fans. Owners with no connection to the club's roots pull strings from luxury yachts and boardrooms. And the worst part, most of us can't do anything about it, but maybe we still can do something to reclaim it. Football isn't just about who owns the biggest club or who signs the most expensive striker. It's about community, history, and emotion. If we forget that, we risk losing the very thing that made it beautiful in the first place. Let's rewind to 2003, when Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea. It felt exciting. A Russian billionaire parachuting into the Premier League, throwing cash around like Monopoly money. Suddenly, Chelsea had the financial muscle to compete with the elite. Titles followed, and many fans understandably welcomed the transformation. But this was more than just one club leveling up. Abramovich's arrival marked a new era, one where football's elite were no longer shaped solely by legacy, trophies, or youth academies. Now, it was about how deep your owners' pockets were. Sheikh Mansour bought Manchester City in 2008. What followed was even more seismic. Hundreds of millions poured into the club overnight on players, infrastructure, marketing, everything. City became a superpower almost instantly. PSG's Qatari takeover followed soon after. The pattern was clear. Football clubs were now luxury assets for the global ultra-wealthy. It wasn't just about competing, it was about domination. And when you have sovereign wealth backing your club, financial limits become laughable. This isn't just about rich people loving football. That would almost be forgivable. What's more dangerous is how certain states use football clubs for strategic geopolitical gain. That's a concept called sportswashing. You might have been hearing that term more often recently. Qatar's ownership of PSG, Saudi Arabia's recent push with Newcastle United, and the United Arab Emirates' long-standing project with Manchester City. These aren't just footballing investments. They're soft power plays, PR machines, diversions from human rights criticisms, political controversies, and international scrutiny. These regimes are not buying clubs for the love of the sport. They're buying global influence. The clubs become a vehicle to shape their image, and the fans, they become unwitting brand ambassadors for authoritarian governments. It's not just morally questionable, it's deeply unsettling. As billionaire ownership became the norm at the top end, the financial ripple effect changed the entire ecosystem of the game. Transfers went mad, wages skyrocketed. The likes of Neymar, Mbappe, and Enzo Fernandez commanded obscene fees. Some of them were higher than the annual budgets of entire leagues. Mid-table clubs now spend like European giants from the early 2000s, and it's not because they're richer, it's because staying competitive in this landscape demands it. But where does this money come from? Often, it's leveraged through debt, commercial loans, or speculative investments. It's not healthy growth, it's inflation on steroids. And the clubs without billionaire backing, they either fall behind or crumble under the pressure of trying to keep up. Even legacy clubs like AC Milan, Inter, or Ajax struggle to match the spending power of newer elite models. The financial gap is no longer just huge, it's insurmountable. Perhaps the saddest transformation in all of this is how clubs have turned from community hubs into corporate brands. You can feel it in the way clubs speak now. Global growth, brand expansion, fan engagement metrics. But where's the talk of tradition? Of the local supporter who's been in the same seat for 40 years, of the neighborhoods that live and breathe the club, even the few social media stunts behind covering the heritage and culture of the club seem fake and planned out nowadays. American investors like the Glazers at Manchester United or FSG at Liverpool treat football clubs the way they would a company stock: buy low, increase value, sell high, and in the meantime, drain them of revenue, prioritizing global tours over grassroots ties, focusing on profit margins over supporter sentiment. This is an investment. It's extraction. And it's not just happening in the Premier League. Look at what happened to Valencia, Bordeaux, Schalke, and even Barcelona. Mismanagement, debt spirals. Clubs are slowly being carved up and sold off like businesses that failed to meet quarterly targets. If ever there was a moment when the billionaire class truly showed their hand, it was the Super League in 2021. 12 of Europe's biggest clubs, led by greedy executives and bored billionaires, tried to create a closed competition with no relegation, guaranteed money, and maximum TV rights. It was the polar opposite of everything football stood for. No meritocracy, no underdog stories, just sheer entitlement. They didn't even bother hiding it either. Real Madrid president Florentino Perez called it saving football. What he probably really meant was saving his balance sheet, protecting the elite from competition, ensuring that failure was no longer financially painful. The backlash was swift and fierce. Fans protested outside stadiums, broadcasters and pundits tore it apart. Governments threatened legal action. Within 48 hours, the whole idea collapsed. The Super League crumbled before a ball was even kicked. But let's not fool ourselves. It didn't disappear. It just went underground. The motives that sparked it, they're still alive, more subtle, more calculated. You can see it in the bloated Champions League format, the ever-growing gaps between rich and poor clubs, the steady erosion of competitive balance. So the question remains, how long before they try again? How long before another project emerges in a new disguise? The billionaires haven't changed their mind. They're just waiting for us to lower our guard. And if we ever do, they'll take the game for good. Let's be honest here. What does the average football fan get out of all this money being thrown around? Are ticket prices lower? Are matches more accessible? Is the atmosphere better in stadiums? No. In fact, the opposite is true. In England, ticket prices have steadily climbed to the point where many working class fans, who are the very people who built the culture of these clubs, are being priced out of their own stadiums. Even watching the game at home has become a luxury. Multiple subscription platforms, premium tiers, exclusive rights divided between broadcasters. Fans now need to juggle apps and paywalls just to follow a single club. The sport hasn't become more accessible. Instead, it's more gated than ever. Wherever you look, the fan is paying more and getting less. When you walk into some of these new mega stadiums, you quickly realize how different football has become. They're sleek, polished, and technologically advanced, but they often lack soul. The noise doesn't carry the same weight. The spontaneity is gone. Think about West Ham's move to the London Stadium. On paper, it was a bigger venue with better facilities, but ask any West Ham supporter if it feels like home, and you'll get a different answer. This isn't nostalgia, it's identity loss. Clubs traded authenticity for optics. From club badges being redesigned for modern branding to classic kits being replaced with sponsor-heavy branding, everything is about marketability. Even club mottos are being reduced to hashtags. You're not a supporter anymore, you're part of a fan-base engagement strategy. Barcelona was once proud of its Més que un club identity, which means more than a club. In recent years, they've been flirting with naming rights deals and commercial partnerships that would have been unthinkable 20 years ago. Their shirt sponsors have gone from UNICEF to cryptocurrency firms. That's not evolution, that's surrender. And what about Manchester United, a global juggernaut reduced to a cash cow under the Glazers? Their decline on the pitch coincided perfectly with an obsession off the pitch for commercial growth. That's no fluke. One of the scariest parts of the billionaire era is how little accountability there is. Owners can run clubs into the ground with total impunity. Look at what happened to Malaga in Spain or Derby County in England. Both immensely suffered from mismanagement at the top, and fans could do little more than simply protest. By the time change came, the damage was already done. The Premier League and UEFA claims to have financial fair play regulations and fit and proper person tests, but these safeguards often arrived too late or are too easily bypassed. The fact that clubs like Everton and Nottingham Forest are being penalised while state-owned giants continue to cook their books creatively says everything you need to know about enforcement. Let's not forget that the European Court of Justice is still handing the fallout from the Super League and the legality of UEFA's control. In a world where billionaires control not just clubs but narratives, even the regulatory bodies are under pressure. When Qatar was awarded the 2022 World Cup, it was a move widely condemned as corrupt. The world began to pay attention to the labor abuses behind the spectacle. Thousands of migrant workers reportedly died while constructing stadiums in inhumane conditions. But once the tournament kicked off, the criticism went quiet. The spectacle took over. The same can be said of club ownership. Human rights abuses don't matter when your team is winning. Many fans become complicit, excusing clear ethical red flags because they're hungry for silverware. It's understandable, but it also sets a really dangerous precedent. We're being taught to accept success no matter the cost. That's not just a football problem, it's a societal one. Now, it's easy to feel helpless. The scale of the money, the influence of the owners, the weakness of the authorities, it all adds up to a system that feels fundamentally rigged. But there's hope. German football offers a different model. The famous 50+1 rule ensures that clubs must be majority owned by their members. This keeps fans in control to a certain degree. While Bayern dominate, the league remains one of the most affordable and fan-centric in Europe. There's also a growing movement in England calling for fan ownership, supporter trusts, and better transparency. The backlash to the Super League showed that when fans unite, they can make themselves heard. Clubs like AFC Wimbledon prove that grassroots resistance is possible, even if it's on a smaller scale. Are we heading towards a future where only 4 or 5 state-owned mega clubs win everything? Where fans are reduced to passive consumers? Where legacy clubs are bought, gutted, and flipped like stock market assets? Or will there be a reckoning? A point where the fans will be fed up with being treated like a toy for billionaires and finally push back? It's hard to say, but one thing is for sure. The game we love is changing, and not always for the better. Football's soul wasn't lost all at once. It's being chipped away bit by bit by unchecked money, by vanity projects, by distant owners who will never understand what a club means to a community. The billionaires will keep playing, but the question is, will we keep watching? What do you think the fans should do to stop this madness? Let us know below.